before we move on, there was one more solution he had, which I don't even know where he got this. G. Maybe you could help connect the dots for me. People on no-fly lists should not be allowed to have guns. Okay, well, we'll argue the merits of that in a second. But where the hell did that come from?
I think he pulled that out of his you-know-what.
Neither one of these people from San Bernardino, those two terrorists, were on the no-fly list.
But you know who is on the no-fly list?
Who?
Actually, I was writing an article recently that there are some Department of Homeland Security employees
72 of them
that are on the no-fly list. They shouldn't have guns. I heard that there was a baby that's on the no-fly list. Lord knows that baby had to be packing to merit that. And I mean one in the diaper. My God, since when did no-fly lists equate to terrorists?
So let's talk about rights.
James O'Keefe is on a watch list because of his stunt on the southern border. And he gets stopped all the time. Should he now be denied his Second Amendment right to bear arms?
Let's talk about these rights. So Loretta Lynch is out there threatening to prosecute American citizens who exercise their First Amendment right.
If that isn't the very definition of thought police, I don't know what is.
President Obama is running around out there pushing to rid people of their Second Amendment rights, not even through the normal process, through just merely being on a list.
Mere implication.
Mere implication. No conviction. You're on a list somewhere.
No vetting.
No one knows how you get on this list. No one knows how you get off this list. No one even knows who's on the list.
One of the worst things that government could ever tell you is, I'm making a list.
But yet, somehow, a Middle Eastern Muslim male of military age somehow has a right to come into this country? Why do they have that right? And we're talking about taking away the First Amendment, Second Amendment, and a whole host of other rights in this country.
Well, it's only taking away the rights to certain people. Because then you got people like Linda Stasi and Sean King in the New York Daily News who are allowed to say basically whatever they want. And the Daily News can have news covers talking about Wayne LaPierre and calling him a terrorist. And they can go around and they can say that prayer won't do anything to stop the war on terror. You know, I'd like them to tell that to every sports athlete, every person of faith in this country, saying that prayer doesn't do anything. Come on, around.
I hope they keep running
that. The double standard is sickening at this point. And it's been ratcheted up by the left more now than it ever has been. And coincidentally, we just happen to have candidates on the right that are not only credible people and successful people, but people who are willing to fight that narrative. I wonder if it's a coincidence that the rhetoric on the left is getting ratcheted up as we head into the 2016 cycle. Nobody's talking about this because we're focusing on policy and terror and very important things. But you have to go back to the Alinsky handbook, Russ. It's all related back to who's in power. That's what it comes down to at this point. And all this rhetoric and all this bait and switch that Rand Paul said is happening to maintain a power base. That's the bottom line.
Well, first of all, I hope they keep running with these things. Keep bashing people who pray. Keep doing that. Keep bashing people who want to keep America safe. Keep doing that, please, Daily News and all you leftist media outlets. When we talk about guys like Barack Obama and Donald Trump, I'm going to keep mentioning Trump here because I think Trump has his finger on the pulse of the country right now. I always say this, Gene. I forgot who I stole this from a long time ago, but
stole it from me.
Beware of the power you give your guy while he's in office, because eventually your guy won't be in office.
Oh, that's a Gallowism, isn't it?
It pretty much is, because whoever I stole it from, I'm sure I butchered it. If Donald Trump gets in office, you better believe he's using some executive orders. You better believe it. And you better believe he's going to get rid of all the ones Obama did, and he's going to start doing his own. And the executive orders go to the executive branch, which is immigration, all these other things. So be careful of the power you give your guy, because he's not always going to be there. And I want to say one last thing here, Gene, about Barack Obama and Donald Trump, because I love how different these two guys are, and you can't get any more different. Because if you really put them on a spectrum, Gene, all the other Republicans are between Obama and Trump.
We have been making scales lately, so this might be another one.
So you had your chance, leftists. You had your chance. You could have had a moderate Republican. You really could have in one Mitt Romney. And actually in John McCain when he ran. You could have had that. A Republican who's going to agree with you on some things, disagree with you on others. But instead, you went so far left. You went so far left, and I'm not even sure Bernie Sanders is to the left of President Obama. I'm really not. I'm not convinced. And then you doubled down on that and reelected him. That the pendulum has to swing back. And it's not going to swing back to the middle with a Jeb Bush. You may wind up with Donald Trump. God help us all. And I sincerely mean that. God help us all.
All right, folks, we're heading to the end of the show here. Thanks for listening to Behind the Main Lines. I'm Gene, he's Russ, and while we got you listening, check out www.behindthemainlinesradio.us. Check us out on Facebook and on Twitter at BEL_radio. And while we got you listening, check out the official page of the Brooklyn Young Republicans where we first started out. That's brooklynYRS.com. And if you missed any part of this show when we broadcast live on Spreaker and on TuneIn, check us out on any number of our internet outlets. They're all listed on our page, in our banner. You can also check us out on podcast on Spreaker, TuneIn, Stitcher, Player FM, and a whole host of other sites where finer podcasts are stored. We got to give equal time right now. Here's a little Reverend Al for you. And when we come back, we'll be talking a little bit Buffoon of the Year and some final thoughts. Gene and Russ, Behind the Main Lines, back after this.
The show will be right back. But first, a word from Al Sharpton.
Good evening, Rev. Thanks
Good evening,
to
Rev.
you, Ed. Is this Groundhog Day 2? We are watching that was Attorney General Eric Holder, ABDs, about some Republicans at home are already beating the drums of war. Today, the Pentagon refuted that claim. And he said the American people do not want him to, quote, dwindling, they do not want him dwindling his thumbs. You can get a gig as a contortionist. Intravenous fluids and pills coated with gelatin. We don't leave our women or men in uniform behind. It's a monument to the hubris of Dick Cheney, Representative Raul Labrador. Years of abuse. I personally apologize to Mr. Peebles. Just ask to soon-to-be former Congressman. Democrats are outright jitty. CIA's counterterrorism center. Veteran Affairs Secretary Shinseki. Why do I always mess up his name? Shinseki. I love my critics. I have fun with that.
Politics Nation with the Reverend Al Sharpton starts right now. Good evening, Rev.
Good evening, Dr. Dyson.
But wait, there's more.
And we will much about that be committed. So there's no real conflict. Michael Druniak, including Lincoln himself, Daniel Day-Lewis. Behind Monica Lewinsky, the one and only Trey Songz is here. But Allison Lundergan Grimes, Gina De Jesus, when Gina De Jesus, Tea Party challenger Matt Bivens. People don't want to have their Social Security overall. The Republican savior, Mark Rubio's big night. In evolution and Galileo, this whole thing of Galileo, America's changed. Unless IT and Skillets, President Putin doing something similar back in, it won't change this fundamental fact about the GOP. Just how absurd these attacks is. Nearly 6 months after the dangerous traffic jam, the Thai military says, my friend for many years, Ilyana Van Zandt. There's nothing there.
And they gave this guy a TV show? Let's get back to our show.
Gene and Russ. Back behind enemy lines.
Is that new, Gene? Because I don't remember hearing all that.
It's been a while since we played that, by the way.
That's great.
Listen, we got a little housekeeping to do right now. Buffoon, the first round of the 2015 Buffoon of the Year is over, folks. Time to report on some results.
Trump's life matters. I'm not talking about it.
Oh, come on. Why you... Listen, I understand you don't agree with Donald Trump's inclusion in Buffoon of the
Or
Year.
Ben Carson.
Or Ben Carson.
Or the woman who wouldn't issue gay marriage license.
Kim Davis.
Or
Megyn Kelly.
No, Megyn Kelly belongs there.
Okay.
She's a fake journalist. She belongs
it
there.
may not be the full lineup of Gallo guys and gals. But this was a group decision made amongst a lot of people.
None of which were me. I understand I didn't have time to respond. I don't want to air all of our dirty laundry.
You were given the list.
It's wrong. We let people who are rhinos into the inner group who made this decision.
Oh, come
It's insanity, Gene. I cannot agree with it.
Someone get the baby his beer. Here are the results from the first round. The Salacious 16 going into the ignominious 8, I should say. Okay, in bracket A, the media buffoons. Brian Williams trounces The View. I couldn't believe this, Russ. By the way, this year's Buffoon of the Year, we got more entries this year than we have in any other year in the first round. Thank you to our audience, and we really appreciate that. Brian Williams trounces The View 95% of the vote. Ridiculous, in my opinion. The View deserved a lot more votes. I'm just putting that out there. Megyn Kelly gets off the hook. The CNBC moderators beat her 2-1. Hillary Clinton trounces Bernie Sanders. I feel like that's going to be coming in the future. Donald Trump makes it to the ignominious 8. Sorry, Russ. But 83% of our listeners thought that Donald Trump was more of a buffoon than Dr. Ben Carson. You care to respond?
I was not one of them. I was not one that voted any of these. So
okay.
Boycott.
Bill de Blasio takes out San Francisco Mayor Ed Lee by a wide margin. Stephanie Rawlings Blake takes out Houston Mayor Anise Parker by an even wider margin. In a surprise, this got to be shocking to some people. Kim Davis was found to be a bigger buffoon than Black Lives Matter. What do you think about that, Russ?
Why is this a shock to you? We're based out of Brooklyn, New York, and you're putting conservatives on a list of Buffoon of the Year. I don't know what you think was going to happen, Gene.
I'm sorry, but you know what? I voted for her.
She's a conservative Democrat.
I voted for her.
I don't know.
Here's why I voted. I'll tell you why I voted for her.
We know why you voted for her.
I voted for her because she broke the law.
All right.
So did Black Lives Matter, but...
So did slaves who ran away and went in the Underground Railroad with Harriet Tubman.
I
don't know how far back you want to go, but go ahead.
But I think we can all agree that Rachel Dolezal is a buffoon, and so did 89% of our listeners. So, the matchups are, as of right now, Brian Williams versus CNBC. It's an all-NBC final in the media bracket. Hillary versus Trump. I think we all know who's going to win that one. Bill de Blasio versus Stephanie Rawlings Blake. Interesting matchup there. And Kim Davis versus Rachel Dolezal. There you have it. Voting starts again on Wednesday. If you're listening to the show on replay, who you got, America? Let us know as we march towards crowning a new Behind Enemy Lines Buffoon of the Year. Time for some final thoughts, Russ. Go ahead, my friend.
I got a few quick bullets here. First of all, I'm just going to revisit what I said before, but I want to end the show on these notes. 9/11 terrorists, all of them came here on visas. All of them were vetted by this government. Don't trust the government that can do it, because they can't. Muslim middle-aged males, military-aged males, heading this way as refugees, while we are just about to start sending American military-aged males and females over there to fight their wars and destroy ISIS to make Syria and Iraq safe. That's a damn shame. And then lastly, kill ISIS and their families and bomb the you-know-what out of them.
And
go Trump, go.
And there you have it. Home side for my final thought. Linda Stasi, I can't believe you finally got that out of your system. I'm so angry at the New York Daily News. I stopped reading them a couple weeks ago, I should say, when they hired Sean King and they started turning a wide turn to the left. I'm done with you. You're nothing but partisan hacks. You're not reporting news. Whatever happened to real news reporting in America? It's all about selling papers, nothing about a public trust anymore. I'm done with your daily news. If I'm going to go to read any paper now, I might as well go right to the AP and go to the source. I'm done. Can't handle you anymore. That's it for me. And that's it for the show, folks. Good night. Next week, I think it's going to be our last live show of the year, because then we have our Christmas Carol show and our Best of 2015 show. You love the Christmas Carol show. I know that, Russ.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. Gene, I know we're very limited, but Hunter Walker is a piece of crap.
Oh!
Don't edit that out, Gene. Leave it on, and I'll explain it next week. Make sure you tune back in.
I might have to bring him on the show. Good night, folks.
Bring him on.
From the People's Republic of New York City, we are out of here.
Our position has been compromised. It's time to roll out. Report for debriefing at www.behindenemylinesradio.us and look for regular communications via Facebook and Twitter at BEL_radio. You are the resistance behind enemy lines.